Hey guys, this video is going to cover what we call linear regression. But before you start running the other way as fast as you can, don't be scared by the terminology. Regression is just basically taking a bunch of values from a table and making them into an equation. So on the STAR test, and again, this is the 2019 release STAR, you're going to have problems and exercises where you're given a table of data and you're asked to determine something from that data based on what we call a linear model, which is your straight lines, when you guys graph straight lines. Now, when you guys hear the word linear, this is the first thing that comes to mind. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, that's slope-intercept form of an equation where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. This is where your line crosses the y-axis. So the question is, this one says, the table shows a linear relationship. So right off the bat, that's how I know this is linear. When you see that word linear, that means it is a linear relationship, so you can actually use y equals mx plus b. So it goes on to say, this is the average height in feet of trees on a tree farm and the number of years that the trees were planted, or since the trees have been planted. What is the rate of change or average height in feet with respect to the number of years? So basically you see this term here again, rate of change. That is your slope, rate of change. So I'm going to show you how to take this and put it in your calculator and actually get the linear equation so that you can then just identify the slope, which is your rate of change. And you can do this for any set of data. And I'm going to do several examples for you here so you can see it over and over again. Once again, to access your calculator on your computer, hit the Start menu, scroll down to TI NSpire, and you'll see this, and you can click on this to get your student version, and it'll actually pull up the screen that you've seen that I have now with the calculator and the screen. And then you'll choose right here, you can actually do the handheld only, where you can only see this, or you can see the keypad, only the keypad, or you can actually do the handheld itself and the screen. So what I'm going to actually do here is I'm going to keep the screen up full so that you can see it. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to take this table and we want to get it entered into our calculator. So I'm going to clear off here all of the stuff that I have so you don't have to do all this. I'm going to add a spreadsheet. There's two ways you can add a spreadsheet to put your table in. You can actually use this little button right here, which is the spreadsheet. It'll take you right to a spreadsheet. Or you can go to a new spreadsheet and you can go add lists and spreadsheets. So either way will get you there. What you're going to do first before you start entering your data is you have to we're going to be telling it to generate an equation for us. So we have to tell it what is our x values and what are our y values. So I'm going to enter my x values here in this column. So I'm going to click on A. I'm going to actually click up here and I'm going to say that that's going to be my x. I'm going to click on B and those will be my y values. So you just click on them. So now you're telling the calculator where your x's and y's are so it can generate your equation. So my x values in this particular one are going to be right here, 1, 3, 6, 11, and 15. So 1, 3, 6, 11, and 15. And then I'm going to go back up, and my y values are 10, 24, 45, 80, and 108. Okay, so those are your x and y values. You've now entered them in what we call a kind of a T table, right? Looks like a little bit like a T. And there's your x and y values. It's the same thing that I have over here on the problem in number 5. So what I'm going to do next, pay close attention, is I'm going to insert a new document. I'm going to hit the control button, and then I'm going to hit the document button. This is going to enter a new document for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add data and statistics because I'm going to enter a graph, and from that graph, the computer is going to generate your equation for you. But I also want you to be able to see that relationship. So again, control, doc, add data and statistics. Now, when you look at this, you're going to see that it's just a big old mess. But right now, the calculator doesn't know what is x and what is y. Now, remember on a traditional graph, your x is your left and right. Your y is your vertical, up and down. So I'm going to click here and that's going to tell the calculator I want my X values along the bottom, and then I'm going to click here and my Y values are going to be across or up and down. You can now see that linear relationship that we were talking about. So what I'm going to do now is I've got the linear relationship. I'm going to hit Menu, and I'm going to hit Analyze. So it's going to analyze this graph and give me the equation. So I'm going to come over to Analyze, and I'm going to go over to Regression. This is called a regression, and we want mx plus b. So I'm going to hit mx plus b, and there is your equation. And as you can see here, y equals 7x plus 3. It actually is putting a decimal after the whole number, but don't worry about that. So your answer here is going to be 7. That is your m in your y equals mx plus b, so that's your rate of change. So that's your solution. So that's how you do a linear regression. Now I'm going to actually go to a couple more. Oops, and I'm going to turn off my editing tool here. So I'm going to scroll, if I can get this to edit. There we go. And I'm going to look at one as simple as number 6. Now number 6 is the same kind of idea, but you don't get a table in number 6. You actually get just 2 points. And the long way for this would be to actually take those 2 points, find the slope using the slope rate of change formula, and then plugging that into point slope and solving for the equation. But we're not going to do that. We're going to use the calculator. So I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to go back to my home screen, and I'm going to do a new document. I'm not going to save my changes. I'm going to add a calculator. So here's my new document. What I want to do is I want to insert, in fact, what I should have done, I'm going to go back to my home screen, is I'm going to do a new list and spreadsheet. So I'm going to add a new list and spreadsheet. Again, we have 2 points, so we have 2 x coordinates and we have 2 y coordinates. So I'm going to designate this column to be my x coordinates and this column to be my y coordinates. So let's look at our 2 x values. -4 and 12, because remember, all coordinate systems, remember when you graph things, they're all in x comma y form. So my 2 x's are the -4 and the 12. My 2 y's are the 2 and the 6. So I'm going to come back over here for y, and I'm going to enter 2 and 6. So if you remember, now that I have my data, I've assigned my x and my y, I'm going to hit Control, Document. That's going to add a new document, and I'm going to add data and statistics. And what I want to do now is I want to tell it this is going to be my x coordinate on the bottom, and this is going to be my y coordinate here. So now I've put my 2 points on the graph. I'm going to go over to Menu. I'm going to hit Analyze, go to Regression, mx plus b. There's your equation, 0.25x plus 3. It is f. So that's how you can actually do a linear regression on the calculator and find an equation. Now, I'm going to try to do one more. So let me get this in here. Let's go over to number 19. And I have number 19 marked. Okay. That is a quadratic regression. And I'm going to show you how to do a quadratic. How do I know it's quadratic? Do you see how we have squared? Okay, so you can do more than linear. You can actually do what's called a quadratic or an exponential regression. But this one's quadratic because we have the squared. So let's go back. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to do a new document, and I'm not going to save my changes, and I'm going to add lists and spreadsheets. This is my x coordinate. This is my y. So I'm going to designate this column as x. This column is y. So now I'm going to enter my x values, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And then I'm going to go back over and enter my y values. Make sure everything lines up. 3, 10, 17, 27, 44, 64, 86, 112. So now I've got all of my values in. So once again, we're going to hit Control, add a new document, and we're going to do data and statistics. Okay, same issue here. I've got to tell the calculator which axis is my x-axis and which is my y-axis. So I'm going to click, this is my x-axis. I'm going to click, this is my y-axis. And you can actually see that this is a quadratic, which you guys have heard like a parabola. This is part of a parabola. So now I'm going to find the equation for my parabola. So I'm going to hit Menu, Analyze, and I'm going to go to Regression. But I'm not doing a linear regression here. I'm doing quadratic. If you actually look up here, it tells you that this is a quadratic function, right? So I'm going to do regression, and I'm going to do quadratic. And here is my equation. So you can drag that equation and look at it so that you can see it on your calculator. You can do the little grabber. So my coefficient is going to be 0.07, which that means I can eliminate over here. If I come over, I can eliminate this one because that has 0.02. And you can see on my calculator it is a positive 0.07. So I can eliminate this guy because he's got a negative. So now it's between these two here. Well, this one actually has a middle term, right? I have an x value, negative 0.148, which would round to what? Negative 0.15. So I should have a negative 1.5 t or x in the middle. D does not have that, so B is your answer. That is how you do a quadratic regression on the calculator. So hopefully this video helps you to solve when you're given a table's worth of data and actually find an equation. You can do a linear regression or you can do a quadratic regression. So hopefully this helps, and this will get you, actually I marked these on the test. There are about 9 questions like this on the actual 2019 STAR. So hopefully this helps you get through those questions.